Welcome back to Just Talking. We have a great show for you today because we have some great filmmakers on, and that is Michael Determan and Tom Rosy, who are co-directors of a great documentary, Behind the Bucket, a Garrison story. Nice to see you both today.
Thank you for having us.
Well, let me say, I've seen this documentary twice, and it's just really just well done all across the board. But let's, if we could kind of go back and get a little background of your works, and let's start with Mike. Have you done filmmaking? When did you get involved into filmmaking?
Filmmaking off and on for about 20 years. So I was
Oh,
doing that in at the same time as my other main job. I'm now doing filmmaking full time as well. So I've worked on features, short films, documentaries, corporate videos, things like that. So the myriad of things. That's actually how I met Tom. Tom, and he tells that story much better. Tom, take that away, you know?
Sure. Well, basically what happened, it's kind of funny. I was just talking to a buddy of mine who kind of got the ball rolling. I worked for a lamb and veal slaughterhouse in Chicago called Chipetti Lamb and Veal. And it's one of the last slaughterhouses left in Chicago during the old stockyards. So it goes way back. It's, kind of like synonymous with jazz and, everything, but that's what usually go on. So family owned business, and they have a very unique building. And in this building, a lot of filmmakers will come through and they want to film there. So I came through while Patrick Swayze was there, Brian Dennehy, Jason Isaac. We're all filming different things, and I just kind of thought, wow, this is really amazing and cool. Not to mention, I also had a background in cosplay, which I still do today. If you're not familiar with that, it's costuming and basically what you see in the film. So with that, I wanted to pursue a little bit more of the filmmaking and at least find out how I can get involved. And I ended up talking to a mutual friend of ours, BJ, and what had happened through that was he was filming a movie called The Rocket, and I learned about him through my sister, and I called him that day and I said, "Hey, my name's Tom Rosy. I make props, I make costumes, I make whatever you want. I would just love to help you out in any project you have or any future project." He's like, "Absolutely, come on out." So I came out to a table read, and met the crew. I believe Mike, you were there that day too,
Yep.
weren't you? Yeah, on day one. So shortly after that, I maybe not even a month, we were on location. We were filming The Rocket. Met Mike, met a bunch of other people on set as well. We became fast friends. We shared a love for nerdum and everything. So even though I'm in Chicago and he's in Wisconsin, C2E2 sort of brought us together again, which is a comic book convention here in Chicago. And well, among beers at the after hour party, we're talking a little bit about the Garrison, which I belong to, and uh, filmmaking, which is the history we had filming the Rocket and a few other little things. And we just kind of came together and like we need to put a documentary together about this. We don't really know where we're going to start or how we're going to tell the story, but I think within less than a month of that conversation, we started filming.
It was about 2 weeks, and I know that it came about because I had no idea what the Midwest Garrison was. I had no idea what the 501st was. I literally, and this sounds horrible because I'm a nerd as well. I thought it was just a bunch of nerds dressing up and going to conventions and having fun. And then Tom explained to me that it was so much more, the charity aspect of it. And to me, that just kind of, it hits you at the heartstrings. Like hearing some of the stories that he was telling about, I'm like, this is something that should be documented, not for exploitation, but just for information so people know what these people do because I had no idea. And I see them at a lot of different events. It's like, well, we need to tell the story. And so then, yeah, 2 weeks later, we were filming.
so those who haven't seen the Behind the Bucket documentary, give us a little story or synopsis of what the documentary is about.
Sure. So what it is about a costume club group known worldwide as the 501st. This is their official logo right here. Actually, drawn by a member of the Midwest Garrison, which is here in Illinois as well. Um, and when I refer to garrisons, each individual group, or club is sectioned by garrisons. So each state, luckily in the United States, has a garrison. Some even have more than one, depending on how big the state is. In the region, it might be split up. But garrisons are also to be found in Italy and Mexico and Germany, and from there they form these groups, which are the bad guys of the Star Wars world. So your stormtroopers, Darth Vader, and anyone else who falls under that qualification of a bad guy. And the motto being "bad guys doing good" kind of speaks to what they do. So they are a costume enthusiastic group, but they use their fandom to give back to charity in many different ways. And that could be done, on many different scales. We can help raise money directly and indirectly, even just by our parents at an event. And as an event coordinator, someone who is a member of the Garrison, they can be passionate about a subject matter, let's say, breast cancer or animal cruelty. So as event coordinator, there could be an existing event that's going on that the event coordinator could say, how can I help? What can I do? And what can I do using my fandom to give back? So they will either create the event or they will help maybe a sponsored event or an existing event and partake in that by being there in full costume, by offering up photo opportunities. They also do a lot with charity, hospital visits, as you probably seen in the movie, and all kinds of things too that you really don't see underneath and behind the scenes, but they'll help out a lot of different charities and groups. And this is on a worldwide scale. So we cover the Midwest Garrison, but this story could be told through any garrison in the United States, in the world. So it's a good way of showing how these garrisons operate by using the garrison locally here to kind of talk about.
Well, Mike, I've seen your work and it's just absolutely phenomenal, but something like this for documentary, how much footage do you shoot? Do we have an outline during the process, or we just say, keep shooting and what we do and have, I don't know, how many hours of footage did you have at one?
It's, well, to let people know, the film is in 1080, so it's not 4K, and we had 5 terabytes worth of footage after all is said and done. So that's a lot of footage. That's a lot of hours. We started this, when, and other documentaries that we've done since, it is more scripted. This was more of a passion project that was supposed to be, maybe we talked about maybe like a short 15-minute piece for YouTube at one time, and then it expanded to maybe 30 minutes, then expanded to like, well, we're already this far, let's just do a feature length. So it was almost that whole aspect of shoot as much as you can, and we're whittling away the story in post. It's always good though, and I'm going to preface this for anybody that wants to do documentary, have an outline, have an idea of where you're going. Tom had questions, which is good, which were steering people into the direction that we needed to. So that helped out quite a bit. We were still kind of finding some hidden gems, things that we weren't expecting. So as Tom is the voice, he's the one that's traveling through the story, by the way, if nobody has seen this. So he's also a co-director, but he's also kind of the host. So he's helping to not steer the questions, but asking the same questions of the people that we're interviewing. And so it's nice that he was able to adjust during interviews to ask more questions, more prodding questions, to keep the questioning going. So
Oh yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, well, we dealt with COVID towards the end of this, so we had to adapt.
one thing that kind of reminded me of something, the first cut was 2 hours and 45 minutes, and we were like, that's way too long. So David Haight, who from Port of Fear, and Anthony Ramos, he goes by, also from the area, another filmmaker, and Tom and I all looked at it and was like, wow, it's a lot. It's great, but it's going to be fatiguing for people to watch, and we needed to trim it, and we had to cut some darlings. Basically those shots are some of those stories that we thought were very impactful to get the ones that were the most impactful for us.
That's what I love about this documentary is like there's layers. Like let's start the first layer with costume, like cosplay itself. And Tom, you were talking that you do that as well. Like people don't just throw the costume on. It's like a lot of, depending on whether it's Boba Fett or Darth Vader or whatever, there's a lot of time in putting, because where do you start? Do you yeah, do you order it online, or do you make it around the house, or where do you start? If someone wants to get involved in cosplay, Star Wars cosplay, where do they start?
Well, first and foremost, you got to understand what costume you want, what you're most passionate about, and as is brought out in the documentary, do your research. These costumes aren't just put together, like cardboard or whatever. So they're screen accurate, and that's the important thing, because when you're at the conventions finally and you're doing this, you want that reaction from the kids, from the parents, from whoever comes up to you. They're like, wow, you look like you just walked off the screen. And that's where screen accurate comes from. So you want to do things very particular to get to that point and take on that look. And then there's an approval process as well. And the only way to get into the club is to have an approvable costume. That's it. So it could be anything. I mean, and some costumes are a lot more complex than others. And when it comes to that, there's a lot of people intimidated by either the cost of the costume or the work involved in putting the costume together. And that's where the community comes together to help you reach that goal with build parties and even just, having a friend over and showing them what to do. So that's what's important too, because this is a sense of community. Everyone, our friends, we're all chasing the same thing. We want you to troop with us. We want you to come out to these events. We want you to feel what we're feeling, and some events are much more exciting than others. A lot of times, it's you're in the cold, you're in the heat, you're whatever. I mean, some of these costumes are uncomfortable, but what drives a lot of people to do it is the passion and the reaction that you get.
That was the one layer, is the costume. Then it's like you said, behind the bucket, the person. And that's what was really neat. Seeing these people, what their occupation was like across the board. There was a scene where I think a couple gets engaged. I mean, there's so many stories along the way with that. Did that, Mike, struck you when you were filming it? That, like, because like you said, you didn't really know much about this before you started. So as you're witnessing it, as you're looking through the viewfinder going, wow, this is amazing.
Yeah, and then you realize as a filmmaker that you're totally unprepared to shoot a documentary, because when you don't even know that someone's going to get engaged, at an event, and you're the camera person and you're the audio person as well, and Tom's helping to wrangle some of the other Garrison members for a bigger group photo. Yeah, that kind of shows you like, hey, you just have to go with the flow. So I just got in there as best I could to get the shots that I could and get the audio that I could. So yeah, some of those moments were really neat because it is all organic. Nothing, when you watch this, nothing was scripted. There's nothing that was captured was a reshoot. And that's why there are times where people may say, hey, this looks a little rougher. Well, yeah, it's because it was, true to life. We were capturing it as it is. And, and unfortunately, a lot of shots had to be, guerrilla. I mean, there was one where I couldn't get past a crowd of people, and we had to put subtitles for what a Legion member was saying to, Make-A-Wish Foundation child, and it's just like, sharing their experience as well. So it's, if I could have done it properly, I would have liked to have not had that shot. I would have liked to have been in there closer, but you just go with the flow.
So now we talked about the first layer was the costume, the second layer, the cosplayers behind the costume, and the third and final layer is the most important one, was the charity work as far as what they do. And you're talking about seeing it firsthand. The part that just struck me was the burn victims camp that they got together. I
Yeah.
just was just silent the whole time for that segment, and I wasn't even there. And then I'm sure that, like we talked about, there's probably other stories in there that may not have made the cut, but just being immersed to that could overwhelm someone. Is that how you felt when you were at some of the charity events?
For me, I would have to say yes. And I know Tom more likely was. Tom had more experience with it. I hadn't been in this world before, so for me, there were a couple of moments where I was like, I could feel like a tear welling in my eye or two, because I'm just like, and I'm like, all right, no, I got to focus on what I'm doing, because I'm trying to capture this. I am a fly on the wall, yes, but I'm also trying to capture this as well. But I can't imagine, these people do such amazing work. I mean, they deal with this like on a regular basis, like a weekly basis for a lot of them. And for them to put themselves in that situation just to bring joy to somebody for, just a little bit, and make them forget about like their issues and their problems, that's just amazing.
Tom, you've been, like you said, have been to these charity events as well. What kind of response do you get from when you show up in costume, like in a hospital bed or at the camps?
Well, I mean, of course, it's amazing. It's a very different type of trooping experience because you're visiting kids, um, and unfortunately, some that you may have visited are never leaving that hospital. And I mean, I've welled up many times during the filming of this, even in just sitting in the chair across from someone while interviewing them. But those kinds of events, I talk a little bit about it. I have a special needs daughter, and I've been in the hospital for weeks. And one time in particular, I didn't know what was going to happen, so I was preparing for the worst. And I've been to Ronald McDonald House, and I've spent the night there. I don't know if you really know what that's about, but that's Ronald McDonald House is a house set up for the families of the child that's in hospital, and it gives them a place to sleep. And if you can't just sleep, and you sleep in the room a lot, but sometimes you just need to take a shower, and you need to um, just walk away for a minute. And that's what the Ronald McDonald House does. And I've been there, and I'll never forget this. I have my daughter in the hospital, and I'm sitting in this sort of like lobby area, and a father starts to cry because he literally just lost his child right then and there. And it's so amazing that they're even able to do this, because all it really is an escape for these children, even the parents. You go in there, and some kids may not want anything to do with it, because they're so sick, or they're unresponsive, because who knows what their situation is, and you don't get to see them all. But those who do want to see us and are able to see us, they light up. And it's very emotional. It's probably also one of the most rewarding things you can do. And while doing one, I've actually met a father who lost his daughter, and as a result, through Bugs Pals, which we highlight in the documentary, continued to do something in the hospital that he lost his daughter in, and we've become fast friends. The father, and we interview him through the documentary as well. But I met him while trooping his event. So it's just you need that support sometimes, and sometimes you never know where you're going to get it from. Um, Even Noah's father, I still talk to this day. And he's so appreciative of the fact that we talked about Noah and we highlighted him in the movie. And it's just these are what you want to do anyways, on some kind of scale. And the Garrison does this continuously throughout the world, and they help families, they help individuals, and all they're doing is volunteering their time, using their passion to give back. And that's what we really wanted to highlight in this. So yeah, it's if this is something I would suggest that anyone wants to do at any level, either by having us out to your event, or joining and doing it yourself, please, reach out on the websites or wherever you can, or if you see one of these guys at a convention, pull them off the side and say, what can I do to help?
So we talked about the making of the movie. It gets released. I know you've had it at showings. What was the response from the audience when you'd show them at live events?
Mike?
It was really good. It was really well received, and actually, it surprised me on how, as filmmakers, and you know this too, Jason. When you make stuff, you always, I mean, deep down, you always hope that people like what you make. That's just what we like. We do it for attention to a certain extent, right? But this is, one of those things where it's like we were doing it because it was a good story, and I was surprised, on the good response because, as I'll pick out like the little things. I know sometimes Tom will pick out too, like the things that we could have changed, things that we could have made difference. But people that are watching it aren't noticing those things. So I think that the story kind of, it kind of overpowered some of the flaws of the film itself, but it's been very well received. I know, was it a relative of yours, Tom, that mentioned that now they understand why people do what they do?
Yeah, my mother.
Yeah.
who had really no idea what we were doing or even cared and wondered why I was doing this or even involved in it. Not to mention my brother-in-law, and who also came out with my sister at one of the screenings. And my brother-in-law says something along the lines of, I have so much more respect for what you do. My mom's like, that was so amazing. I I didn't know, so which has also been the same sentiment from other Garrison members. Ted, who we actually kind of Ted Ruler, who we highlight in the movie quite a bit. He's Darth Maul. He had complete watch parties with his entire family during, I think, Christmas or something. So yeah, I mean, his entire family was like, "Oh my gosh, this is so cool. This is what you do. I get it now. I get it." And that's really all we wanted.
After this documentary, do you think you will collaborate on another one?
We're already working on it. Yeah.
All right, great. But like I said, honestly, when I watched the Oscars, what was it, a couple weeks ago, and they got documentaries, you're the first one that came up to mind. I says, I wonder if they're eligible for this because it was very, very well done on every level on that. So I hope more film festivals sees this, and I would like the community at large to see it as well. So I guess my question to you guys is, where can we see Behind the Bucket, a Garrison story?
Well, as of right now, what's the date today? The March 11th. It is on Tubi. It's a streaming service, free with commercials, I believe. I also think it was on Fandango for a while.
Should be still on Fandango. You
Yeah,
can rent it on, was it Amazon, YouTube?
Amazon Prime.
Yeah, we should know this. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Yeah,
But you can buy it on DVD through Amazon, barnesandnobles.com, Target,
Target.com.
Walmart, things like that. So it is available on DVD as well. But, for streaming, if you go to imdb.com, it'll give you all the streaming sites.
Huh.
That it's on. We're only in North America and Canada currently, so we're looking to try and do international. So there's anybody that's on here that knows anybody that has connections overseas, hey, contact us. That'd be great.
I think, putting out the DVDs was something also smart because it is a collectible type of thing. It's Star Wars related, and anyone that likes Star Wars, knows that they like to collect Star Wars things. So,
I got the DVD.
yeah, so having it on DVD and physical copies, I think, especially in today's world where sometimes those digital copies end up disappearing off your, PlayStation or whatever it is, to have that physical copy is pretty cool. So yeah, those are available. And then, our websites, and as far as our website is
Yeah.
www.behindthebucket.com.
Yep.
Is it? Yeah.
Yep.
And so links to everything is on there with our other social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, I believe, as well, right?
Yeah, or X or whatever we want to call it these days.
X, yeah.
And I gotta ask, with Star Wars Day coming up, what's your favorite Star Wars movie?
Are we going like top 3?
Whatever, I'm just throwing it out there, whatever, what comes to mind,
Well, I got to say, if I'm listing in the top 3, it would go Empire, and then maybe surprisingly Rogue One, which is my second favorite, and then Return of the Jedi.
okay,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Mike?
And I would have to say that Rogue One takes the cake for like mine, but I have an appreciation for the original 3, so those will always reign as supreme. So, but
Yeah.
I agree. It's pretty much, let's go with Tom's order. Yeah, Empire is still the best. It's
You
true.
know,
And I just want to say that the reason why I loved Rogue One so much is well, the Vader scene for one, but also just the feeling I got while I was in there. It felt like Star Wars, that movie, and you kind of see how kind of things got started with A New Hope. And I just thought it was a really cool concept, and I thought it was very well done, and had some amazing scenes and storytelling in it. And yeah, based off the feeling I had when I left the theater, that's why it ranks where it does.
all right. Well, once again, I want to thank Michael Determan and Tom Rosy for coming on down. Please, everyone, see this documentary, Behind the Bucket of Garrison State. It's just a 4-star documentary. And thank you so much for talking to us today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having
Thanks
us.
for having us.